appreciate your presentation, and I don't want to sit here and be silent to say that I'm not hearing. Actually, I am hearing about it from people in Faulkner County, definitely. Obviously, it's a growing area, much like Northwest Arkansas is a growing area. And I've had several people talk to me about this, and what I have found is that just as you discussed here, it's those folks that are dealing with a lot of real estate, obviously they see it. And the comment made to me many times is that it's happening also on those single properties, but they don't even know the process. They're not accustomed to going and making a case at the equalization board. And so your points are well taken. I wanted to ask, I don't know if you said something about this, Representative Hendren, and I just missed it. I know we're going to be studying this, but do you have any ideas currently that you see that may come forward in this study that you think may be up for consideration if you attempt to pass a bill on this matter?
Recognize, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Rayford, yeah, I've had people suggest ideas, and that's what we want to do around this table here, and also the constituents that come in to have their input in it, to see and Jonathan talks about it there. Maybe we may need to update this thing and so forth. Some of us old folks may need to get updated as well. But I've been making the statement to folks in my area, just for food for thought. In this member's opinion right now is that I think your property taxes ought to be raised one of three ways. Now, some people say, well, just keep quiet about this, but you know, I've never been that way about it. I think, in my opinion, and I think what we ought to try to get to as we look at this, is it ought to be market value, or improvements you make to your property, which usually can be documented by building permits, and they ought to be done properly across our state. And the third thing is for the constituents to decide there is a need, as he talked about, and go to millage increase. That's when the public actually speaks. Now, the blowback you get down immediately, well, say if it's on market value and you bought this place and now the value's gone up, and that's what they talk about here is, then you're not paying your share. And that's why I mentioned that a while ago, somebody said this thing, and that's why I think we need to look at what these other states are doing and see if they find a better way. And that was interesting to me. Somebody said Texas, if you're in Texas, I understand they do, we'll verify that, is that if your property's gone up quite a bit since you bought it and paid for it, then they can go back and recoup 5 years because you've got the money to pay for it and you're not going to lose your place and all this stuff. So there's a lot of merit to look at that. But you know, there are certain things that there are market values on that are easily established. And you can pick up, for instance, if I want to know what my cows are worth, I take them to a sale barn. That's market value, what they bid on and what they give. If I want to buy stock in a corporation, I can read the paper, I can call the stockbroker, and there's a market value. But when somebody can drive into your driveway and say, well, now the market value of your place is such, to me, that's an impossible deal to start with. We're asking folks to do stuff that they can't do to start with. I don't know of any way to do it. So market value, I think, has an interesting approach to that. But all these things, to make it more workable so people can understand, we put the assessors, one of the things, Senator, that's come up recently is with my discussion with Debbie Asbury. And you all just need to think about this. In my understanding with her, and now Bear may have changed it, but the way she used to tell me is that if a bank repossesses a house, and it's a repo, we got some bankers over there. I'm about to get in trouble with the bankers here, but Bruce, I'm on the other side of the table. If a bank repossesses a property, they will not use that as a comparative property. That's what they tell me. That's what Debbie used to say in these hearings down here. And you know what bothers me about that, ladies and gentlemen? If Bruce Malek, my banker, forecloses on my house, and then he sells that house, and he doesn't get as much as the market will bear on that house, then I think I've got the shaft. That's how I feel about it for anybody. And so I don't follow that argument. That's something I think we need to look at and talk about. I could be wrong about that, but if I owe a bank money and they take the place back because I haven't paid my payments and they go sell it, if they make a sweetheart deal or they don't get all they can out of it, then they're going to ask me for the difference. And frankly, I don't think that's the way Bruce Malek does business. But I do know that's what apparently Debbie Asbury used to tell me. they won't use those because they're not market value things, or whatever reason they didn't use them. So all that stuff, Senator Rayford, is what I'd like for us to study, and all of us might learn something about that, and it'll work together for good, I think, for everybody in Arkansas, including the institutions that use those funds.
Well, what I'm hearing you saying is that market value seems to be an idea to consider. I think if I heard that correctly.
Well, yes, and I think that's what it's supposed to be, I believe.
Right, right. I will, Mr. Chairman, I will say, it's coincidental, yesterday, actually, I spoke at a food, it's called Soul Food Cafe. Actually, they feed poor people in Faulkner County that are having trouble and find themselves in need, and they do a tremendous job up there. But a lady stopped me there at that particular place and asked me how we could help with her mother, who was on fixed income. The father had died, the mother was left, fixed income, and she just got notice from Pulaski County that they were going to seize her property for back taxes, that she had some property here. And so I asked the lady how much she owed. It was $280. And so I think there's sometimes an impression when you see somebody with a stack of these that, oh, this is...
I'm going to put these
Yeah.
under the desk here.
There you go. You see a stack that, oh, this is just people that have the ability to have a lot of property, and they're just trying to lower their taxes on that. But that's a real-life example, and I bet you there's a lot of those examples out there where it's fixed income, and they find themselves in a situation they don't have the living spouse anymore, and they have to decide, am I going to buy groceries and medicine, or am I going to pay this tax bill? So I appreciate you bringing it up. It's something that I think is definitely worth bearing study for the committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. Representative Pike, do you have a question, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.